HITWAY is a manufacturer of certified e-bikes and e-scooters that can be ridden legally anywhere in the European Union. In today's video, I'm testing one of their models, the HITWAY BK16. How does it perform in real life, and is it worth buying? You'll find out in the rest of this review. For the record, I received the bike directly from the manufacturer as part of a collaboration, and I'd like to thank HITWAY for supporting my channel and blog. If you want to pick up this bike, or just browse the full HITWAY lineup, there's a discount code and a direct link in the description. Let's get started. First impressions and assembly. The BK16 comes in 3 colorways, black, white, and a deep navy blue, each dressed up with its own accent graphics. I went for the black frame with teal lettering. It had me at first glance. The frame is shaped like a sharp V. The central triangle looks ready to cradle a mid-drive motor, yet here the hub motor lives in the rear wheel. Tucked neatly into the down tube is a 48V/18 amp-hour battery, and the whole package is pushed along by a 250-watt motor that can summon up to 60 Nm of torque. How that combo feels on the road? We'll get to it soon. HITWAY paired the drive unit with a cadence sensor, and each of the 3 assist levels has its own speed ceiling. Fans of torque sensors might turn up their noses, but plenty of riders love cadence-based systems. The bare bike tips the scales at 31 kilograms. With all accessories bolted on it, climbs to 38.6 kilograms. The aluminium frame carries a 7-speed drivetrain, and HITWAY boldly claims the bike fits riders from 165 to 195 centimeters. Reality is less generous. At 182 centimeters, I had to shove the saddle all the way back and jack it sky high, which left my arms stretched out so far I was practically lying on the bars. My advice? Spend the extra 8 to 10 euros on a stem riser. Those few centimeters transform long rides. Up front, you get a traditional coil suspension fork, and the 26-inch wheels are wrapped in chunky 3-inch rubber. It's no full-blown fat bike, more a city cruiser with off-road ambitions. The rated payload is 125 kilograms, and the factory range claim sits between 70 and 120 kilometers. Ambitious, yet not unrealistic given the battery size. The unboxing starts with a pretty standard size carton, though it still feels epic when it lands on the porch. As usual, the front wheel is zip-tied to the frame. Crack open the top flaps, fish out the loose bits, tip the box on its side, and slide the bike out in its padded armor. Peeling everything off at once only invites scratches. Inside, I found a doorstopper of a manual. 265 pages in several languages, with a 30+ page for each language. It covers everything: basic operation, warranty fine print, a detailed brake setup chapter, error codes, even a charming horse riding passage that tries to explain, well, how to ride a bicycle. There's also a familiar multi-tool, one more for the drawer, though this one comes with its own booklet and EU compliance label. A 48-volt charger, a hand pump, reflectors, an undersaddle anti-theft module, a pair of pedals, a quick-release skewer for the front wheel, and a handful of nipple tools for wheel truing. Assembly was remarkably painless. The only head scratcher was the rear rack struts. The diagram is too vague about which bolt to loosen. Otherwise, it was a few turns of an Allen key, a quick brake tweak, a blast of air in the tires, and the BK16 was ready to roll. Riding day to day. I've grown fond of step-through frames. Stand next to the BK16 and you're in the saddle with one smooth motion. No circus kicks required. On classic MTB frames, especially with panniers hanging off a rear rack, that leg swing can morph into a clumsy stretch. Here it's one foot on a pedal, the other slips through, done. The suspension seat post irons out chatter even though the saddle itself isn't exactly an armchair, and together they serve up a surprisingly springy ride. Visually, the bike is tidy. Twist the key and the 48-volt battery slides out effortlessly for desk-side charging. Mine arrived with a few superficial scuffs, minor blemishes that future adventures will soon eclipse. Two bottle cage bosses wait on the down tube for a bidon or mini pump. The rear rack looks bomb-proof. steel tubing that refuses to flex under a loaded pannier, plus a wide deck to keep bags stable in high-speed turns. The drivetrain is a 7-speed Shimano tourney, and from the first click the shifts are crisp. No need to reach for the barrel adjuster. Factory lighting is just as plug-and-play, a rear running light with a brake light function, and a front dipped beam LED. It won't outshine a motorbike lamp, but in traffic it's perfectly adequate. The display fires up instantly, spitting out current speed, total mileage, trip distance, and assist level before you've even buckled your helmet. How the assist works and on-road impressions. I start with assist level 0, pure leg power on a 30-kilo machine. Thumb the button to level 1 and the cadence sensor takes over. A ring of 12 magnets spins in the bottom bracket. Each pass trips a tiny Hall sensor. 2 or 3 pulses convince the controller to wake the motor, and in less than a quarter second 60 Newton meters nudges me forward. Level 1 tops out at 15 km per hour. Level 2 raises the ceiling to 20 km per hour. Level 3 rushes straight to the EU mandated 25 km per hour. As the speed needle kisses each limit, the controller feathers the amps, smoothing the handoff. Stop pedaling for half a crank and the motor cuts instantly. At nearly 100 kilograms, I'm still impressed by the BK16's punch. The 7-speed Shimano clicks through gears like butter, and even with assist disabled, the bike coaxes me to keep spinning. Not that I stay in level 0 for long, I flick back to level 3 because I love that spring-loaded surge when the cranks barely move. HITWAY says the bike fits riders up to 195 centimeters. At 182 centimeters, I'm already maxing out the saddle rails and seat post, draped over the bars so my wrists feel every ripple. A €10 stem extender lifts the cockpit 3 or 4 centimeters and my wrists breathe again. If the factory fork were a shade longer, or the frame offered one size up, the issue would vanish. Under 175 centimeter, you'll likely never notice. On steep ramps, I press the minus key. Walk assist kicks in and the bike creeps uphill at a steady 6 km per hour. I can see a dormant throttle lead bundled in the wiring loom, but the controller has it locked down. There's no menu setting to free the throttle or raise the speed cap. That's the price of EU compliance. Flat tarmac soon gives way to farm gravel. The air smells of cut hay, and the 120 km range the brochure boasts of starts looking more like 70 to 80 km when you live in level 3. Fair enough, those kilometers are the sweet ones. First downhill on loose chip seal. I squeeze the levers and remember these are only mechanical disc brakes. I'd feared they'd feel underpowered on a heavy e-bike, yet after meticulous cable and pad adjustment they bite firmly, reeling in speed without drama. All cabling, including brake lines, runs inside the frame, so anyone upgrading to hydraulics faces the fiddly task of feeding hoses through tight channels. I'll stick with what works. Through the trees, the bell gives a polite ding. No air horn theatrics here. A brake light equipped tail lamp glows behind me. Up front, the simple LED keeps the path visible. The display lights up the moment I hold the power key, serving speed, trip, odometer, and assist level before I've even cinched the straps on my lid. That's a day with the BK16. The cadence sensor keeps the torque silky, and I'm left wondering only how many kilometers remain before my wrists start tingling again. What I love. Viewed side-on, the BK16 is an eye-catcher. The low-slung, slightly swoopy frame screams attitude, yet makes daily mounting a breeze. Assembly took a single afternoon, nothing out of the ordinary, and the whole bike costs roughly €1,100, so the wallet doesn't scream like it does with most e-bikes. The stealth black paint plays well with the hidden controller and battery. No stray cables spoil the lines, and the top tube still has room for a bottle cage or pump. On the move, the 7-speed Shimano swaps ratios faster than I can think about cadence, and the bright rectangular display shines through full sun without a hint of lag. The motor pulls like a freight engine, instant and unhesitating, enough to make your spine register that first kick. The rear rack takes a bulging pannier or weekend duffel without complaint, and the 3-inch tires, while not quite fat bike territory, stop sand or forest tracks from killing the vibe. Best of all, kill the assist and the bike is still a laugh. The bearings roll free, the drivetrain glides, and when the battery finally taps out, I'm in no rush to dismount. Where it falls short. Perfection? Hardly. On a machine north of 30 kilograms I expected hydraulic discs, but HITWAY opted for cable-actuated ones. Dialed in, they stop surely and evenly, yet a part of me craves the surplus bite of a closed hydraulic system. Those cables, like all wiring, are hidden inside the frame. Great for looks, less great for anyone planning a hydro swap. Ergonomics pose the second snag. At 182 centimeters, I'm supposedly within spec, yet I had to max out post and saddle just to get proper leg extension. The result? I'm stretched over the cockpit and my wrists tally every pothole. A cheap stem riser fixes it, or, better, HITWAY could spec a slightly larger frame or a longer fork. Finally, there's the speed lock. I understand the EU's 25 km/h rule, but once I turn off the paved road, I'd love to let the BK16 run free. That switch is simply not on offer, and that's a shame. Nothing beats a burst of unshackled speed where the asphalt ends. Head unit refuses to display anything above 25 km/h. Even if you bomb a hill on leg power alone and clearly blaze past the legal limit, the screen freezes at that magic number. It doesn't affect the ride itself, your speed is still there, wind in your face and all. But watching the digits hit an invisible ceiling feels a bit odd, like the bike is politely pretending you're not breaking the rules. Verdict. The HITWAY BK16 is a solidly built, fully certified e-bike with clean frame lines, a slick 7-speed Shimano drivetrain, and a surprisingly lively 250 watts/60 Nm motor. Level 3 assist rockets you to 25 km/h with zero sweat, while the 3-inch tires tame sand and packed gravel. Real-world range at a spirited pace sits around 70 km, which is respectable for a 48-volt/18 amp-hour battery. Mechanical brakes and the unliftable speed cap are mild disappointments, and tall riders, anyone my height or above, will want to budget for a stem riser. But if you're shorter, or you tweak the cockpit right away, you're looking at an €1,100 e-bike that can light up city commutes and weekend trails alike, even after the battery finally says, enough. Thanks a ton for sticking around to the very end. If you made it this far, drop a comment, give the video a thumbs up, and consider subscribing. It really boosts the channel and helps me line up more cool gear for independent reviews. Thinking of grabbing this e-bike? You'll find a direct link to the store in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!